But first, Hari Om, welcome to this next class on Kathopnishad. We are looking at the
Audio.
third Valli, Hari Om, and we shall be entering the fifth and sixth mantras. We have just looked at them. So let's start with the chanting first. I'll chant at my end. You can chant at your end. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gananam Tva Ganapati Gam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshwarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Ana Shrinvannuti Seed Sadhanam. Om Shri Mahaganpataye Namaha. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we are covering the first chapter, the third part of that, Pratham Adhyay, Tritiya Valli. We have seen these two verses, the fifth and sixth. So just we'll have a quick look at these two and then we'll move on to the other new chapters, new mantras. So this one is about the avigyan one. Yastra vigyanvan bhavati ayukten manasa sada tasya indriyani vashrani duštashva iva sarathehe. Yastra vigyanvan bhavati ayukten manasa sada tasya indriyani vashrani duštashva iva sarathehe. And yastu vigyanvan bhavati युक्तेन मनसा सदा तस्य इंद्रियाणि वश्यानि सदश्वा इव सारथे. So first we see that यह तु अविज्ञानवान भवति अयुक्तेन मनसा सदा तस्य इंद्रियाणि अवश्यानि दुष्ट अश्वा इव सारथे. यह तु. So that person who is a vigyanvan, whose intellect is not directed well, it's not moving in the correct manner, vigyanvan bhavati ayuktena manasa sada. It is not controlling or it is not connected to its mind. Not just connected, but it is not able to guide the mind properly. Then tasya indriyani avashyani. Then his sense organs similarly become uncontrolled. The sense organs are connected to which part of the horse, which part of the chariot? The ashwa. So dushta ashwa iva sarate. Just like the uncontrolled horses will take the chariot in all the wrong directions, right? And then similarly in the reverse side, the one who is vigyanvan bhavati, so of yuktena manasasada tasya indriyani vashyani. So that person who is vigyanvan, whose intellect is properly guided and controlled, so his mind is also therefore properly modulated by this intellect. Yuktena manasasada tasya indriyani vashyani. His sense organs will remain in his controls. Sadashva iva sarathe, right? So the basic controlling point that the Shruti here is directing us is that Vijnanavan. The person should have proper intellect. If it doesn't have it, then it will create problems, right? So just like the Vijnan will control the Manasaha will control the Indriyani, and finally the Indriyani is controlling the Shariram. So Sharir is not mentioned because it is the last part. So, but whatever sadhana will do, we will do with the manas and the shariram. So, unless our man and sharir are fully fit, uh, the next part will be what? Next part is they have to be guided properly. So, the correct vigyan, the correct knowledge should be there for us. Then only will this guidance be proper, right? So, unless the correct guidance is there, then we will not be able to do. Just like we say in this in spiritual pursuit, we have the Shastra as our guide. So in any case, in any field of life, proper knowledge is necessary. Even if you are, say, you are buying any instrument or utensil, something that needs to, need to know how to make it function. So you will get a manual with that, right? The manual has to be there. So unless the manual is not there, or if you have not read the manual, then you might end up totally destroying that instrument. So, like you have a mixer grinder, and then that mixer grinder, when you are just testing it out, then you forget to how to run it. So you are supposed to screw in the blade there. You don't do it properly. You haven't learned it. Then what will happen? You will end up totally disrupting that instrument. So in order for you to have that instrument functioning properly, you will have to have the correct knowledge. So therefore, Shastra has to be studied properly. So even in any of our branches, like if you have the Yoga Sutras, the first initial part will always contain that you have to study the Shastras. Like first you have what? Yama and Niyam. So in Niyam, Swadhyaya is an important part. Right. So you go to Samadhi and you go to Dhyan and all that much later on. Right. So you cannot just enter into anything intermediately without knowing the full reasoning or why you should do it. Someone will suddenly say, you should do japa, this will give you this benefit. So I start doing japa. Unless I know what japa is, what japa benefit will give it, what it will give to me, why I should do it, then it will not be effective for me. I have to know how to use that japa, or what should be my bhava, my feeling towards that. Right. So same way, someone else comes along and he will say, you must do Kundalini, and Kundalini will awaken and suddenly you will become knowledgeable. No, Kundalini is not magic. Kundalini has a solid theory behind it. So unless that theory is known to you, how you have to raise your level of freedom from the Mooladhar, from the Prithvi Tattva, yeah, to give up all attachments to everything that is available for interaction in the solid world. That is conquering the Mooladhara chakra, and so on. It's a very scientific and well detailed process. So unless the knowledge is available to you, you are not going to be able to use that sadhana. Don't jump into any sadhana without knowing the proper way. Someone will say bhajan is good, it will take your mind to a higher plane, and you suddenly start joining bhajan classes or doing bhajan. Unless you know the process or the reasoning behind it, it will not be able to, it will benefit, but not in the right measure. Or someone says you must do social service. So again, you are moving suddenly from something internal to something external. So you have to learn the process or the reasoning. So unless the Vigyan is there, unless the knowledge from Shastra is there, we should not enter into any sadhana without having the proper backing of it, right? And once this knowledge is there with us, then only we can, move smoothly according to the proper procedure. Like first, what we have to do? First, we have to have the knowledge. Then we have to strengthen the mind. We have to strengthen our conceptions. And then finally, when I'm going to focus my mind, then what should be the process? Focus of the mind should never be suppression. It can never be suppression, because once the suppression is there, then at some time it will explode. Sometime in the future, the pressure that we are putting in the mind will make it happen. It'll happen in such a way that my mind will not be able to bear the stress and the strain. So I will have to learn to regulate it. I will have to learn to direct it, and learn to educate it as to why the sense pleasures are not necessary, why only a certain amount of sense pleasures are necessary, why the mind itself is a temporary object. Oh, we'll see here also that manasa is said amanaskaha. The person of this wrong intellect, it's like he doesn't have a mind. So that is not the process by which we should move over. And then what does this create? What does this avigyanvan, being avigyanvan, or moving in the wrong direction of controlling the mind, how will happen? Now, how it will uh, affect us? Why it will take us away from the uh, journey or the final goal that we are looking at. So just like we have our indriyas, they are in our control, then when we start to do into any sadhana, then we generate lot of thoughts in our mind about our reactions to the world, right? And so we can take here, I'll take around four examples here, four kinds of examples where we can see how it affects us, right? So let us say we have in our mind a certain kind of animosity or certain kind of, we abuse something in Shastra or some devta. We abuse some Shastra or we abuse the devta. Why do we do that? Because we are looking for an excuse to stay away from dharma. We find it very restrictive. We find it very controlling. We don't understand why we need to do that. And then we end up, criticizing the very thing that is going to become our guide. So, right? So now when I put out that feeling in my mind, I abuse Shastra or I abuse that Devi or Devta, then what will happen? It will create a negative wave pattern in my mind. It will create a negative vibration in my mind. So what will this negative vibration do? This negative vibration will take me away from my direction. So take me away from the right direction of my journey. Because what will happen? They say in some people will tell you that the Devta will punish you. Huh. So Devta is not a vindicative being like us who will punish us. He is not going to do, but he will not need to do it also. You will punish yourself because of that negative wave pattern that you have created in your mind. Then that pattern will carry with your mind will be always carrying that pattern. So you will get through the nature some situation where your that very abuse will come back to you. You will get abused at one time in the future. And then when that happens, if your mind is not capable enough to handle it, your mood will be off. You will be behaving in a very irritable way towards everyone. You might end up going to enjoy something and you will end up not enjoying anything at all because your mind is not trained to handle that. And what will happen to that situation? It will come again. It will come again and again till your mind is able to conquer that emotion. So just one strong wave of negativity I bring into my mind, and it will bring a lot of misfortune to my mind. Now, what is the devta doing here? The devta is not putting anything out for you, but the thing is, my consciousness is functioning through this body. Devta is what? Devta is what? Shakti. Or Devi is Shakti Ma. So Devi is Shakti. That means she is the Shakti that is running through each and every body in the universe. So where that Shakti is performing as the seeing power, it is Surya. Where it is as the hearing power, it is Dig Devta. So all these forms that this Shakti is going to take, it will be functioning through that universal consciousness. Maya is connected to Ishvara. So it is connected to the whole universe. So what happens is that wavelength that you create in your mind, it will travel the whole universe. It will correspondingly get a return very fast. We know about karma that when we do karmas, we have the sanchit karmas, then we have our prarabdha karma, and then we have agami karmas. So sanchit karma is the sum total of all our karmas from our previous birth. So now, when all these karmas come together, then what will happen? Uh, some of them will bear fruit in a certain day or age, right? Some of them will fructify. So when they are ripe, when they are getting ready. So some will take some less time to mature, some will take more time. The ones that are available for maturity in this life will become our prarabdha for this life. And this is the normal theory. We have heard it earlier also. So now these kind of things, when we do, when we abuse something higher than us, then that abuse will bring a very fast return, instant almost. So you might happen to observe this also. Whenever you say something out loud like this, something is going to come up in your life that will disturb you really badly. So we have to be very, very, very careful of where we let our mind go and where we let our abuse or any kind of negativity go. Then second, just we bring it lower down the scale. So we abuse or we get angry or we take our frustration on some person, right? So that person, why do we take out frustration? That person may have maybe a part of a rival ideology. right? So as long as we are opposing the ideology, it is fine. But ultimately, he is also a person. He might not be following the negative points of that ideology. So we cannot let blind hatred rule us. We can learn to refute. There is another system which promotes exclusivity. We are free to contradict them. We are free to pay them in their own coin. But we cannot become like them. We cannot have that hatred in our hearts like that person, right? So without giving into hatred, we can give back just like a yodha, a fighter or a warrior fights a war. He is not filled with hatred, but it is his duty to fight any evil that comes his way. So we have to become a yodha, just like Bhagwan told Arjuna. So yuddhasvacha, you have to do this. This is your duty. So same way we can, and in our system, in our Hindu theology, we are so refined. Some people say Hinduism does not allow preaching or does not allow. No, that is wrong. Hinduism preaches Hinduism, but it is not a crude one. It doesn't use money or it doesn't use any kind of physical violence to convert people. That ultimately wears off in the long run. But what happens is we convert through satsang, by teaching our scriptures all over the place, and then we preach through shastras wherever there is a rival ideology which is doing something wrong. Our direction is what we want to correct the flaws in that rival ideology. We don't want to demolish it, right? So even if there is something harmless, like Buddhism will say something about, it said something about nothing has a reality of its own. Every entity in this world is empty of essence. There is no essence, right? So that gave rise to Shunyavad. But did Bhagwan Buddha say that? No, he just was asked that is this object, is there a reality? He said, I cannot say. Is there not a reality? I cannot say. So that silence is not to be interpreted in negating that or choosing one of those options. Right. So maybe later on Nagarjuna came and then he built this Shunyavad. So, but over a period of time when Shankaracharya Bhagwan and others, we refuted them, we corrected their view to the point where they now agree that objects don't have an essence, but there is some essence that they don't define. So at least we take them onto the right path, right? So our method is what? To correct anyone, because they also have to move towards moksha. Every being has to move towards moksha. So whatever flaw was there, it was ironed out through debate and discussion. So in this way, we bring people to our fold, or we convert them, or we make them, amiable to us. We don't fight with them. We don't quarrel with them all the way. We teach them what is wrong in their ideology. And slowly, a lot of religions are there who are following some old customs, but then they are in a way half Hindu also, because they are also merged with our Hindu festivals and with our Hindu way of life. That is how it is in India. So now, this hatred that we have to keep, if we keep it to a person or keep that negativity to a person without knowing whether the person has some wrong ideology, then it will again bounce back to us. But unlike the first one, when we are abusing Shastra or Deva, this will take less time. So whenever we are on our spiritual path, then we will not become Vigyanvan. Whenever our knowledge is there, knowledge disappears at the right time, whenever it is needed. So the knowledge will not be available to us, right? So similarly, when we do something like internally, we abuse internally, right? Internally, we are driving, let's say. You heard about road rage. Someone just crosses in front of you and you get really angry. And so you say a lot of things in your mind, you abuse him. And what is happening there? What is happening there? She is not getting to hear your abuse. No, nothing is happening to you. You are only disturbing your mind. So again, that negative wave pattern that you are creating in your mind, it is going to affect your sadhana. It is going to affect the direction of your life. That is why we have to be careful. We have to let our emotions remain in control, right? Same way, we can do something. I can be abusive to myself. You will say no one abuses oneself. No, we don't abuse ourselves. But what happens is when we internally take up some negative aspect, some negative thing, like even if I say, I don't want to get into an accident, I have created that negative pattern. Or I don't want to get sick, I have created that negative pattern. Or sometimes to avoid some responsibility, I want to get sick, and I can bring that sickness onto myself. Right? So in this way, whenever we bring in a negative pattern in our mind, then that negative pattern is going to affect us, and it is going to interfere in the normal procedure of our sadhana, or in our normal direction of upward mobility in life. So this is now, here is what we are looking at is the journey. Right? The journey is there. So how do you want a journey to be? आप कैसी जर्नी चाहते हैं? Whenever we go to go on a long journey or a holiday, we want to enjoy beautiful sights, right? We don't want to go through some place that is dirty. We don't go. So that is why this dushtashva iva sarathe should be avoided. We should make our sense organs amenable, or desirous of good sense objects, of positive pleasures and no negative pleasures. Once our direction is right, our journey becomes beautiful, because reaching the destination is as important as the journey itself. Unless the journey is smooth, the reaching of the destination will not give you that joy. At the end of the journey, you will be still worried about the horrors you encountered on the journey. So, any kind of negativity is not allowed to us by Shastra in this section. So, now we move on to the next three mantras. I'm taking them together. So, again, I'm taking them from a different text, so that we can just quickly look at them, all of them together. यस्तो विज्ञानवान् भवति अमनस्क सदा शुचिः न स तत्पदमाप्नोति संसारं चादिगच्छति यस्तु विज्ञानवान् भवति समनस्क सदा शुचिः स तु तत्पदमाप्नोति यस्मात् भूयो न जायते विज्ञान सारथिर्यस्तु मनः प्रग्रहवान् नरः सोऽध्वन् पारम् आपनोति तद्विष्णुः परमं पदम्. Again, I'll just go through three. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati amanask sada shuchihi nasa tatpadam apnoti sansaram chadi gacchati. यस्तु विज्ञानवान् भवति समनस्क सदा शुचिः स तु तत्पदमाप्नोति यस्माद् भूयो न जायते विज्ञान सारथिर्यस्तु मनः प्रग्रहवन्नरः सोऽध्वन् पारम् आप्नोति तद्विष्णुः परमं पदम्. So यस्तु विज्ञानवान्, yastu avigyanvan bhavati. So the person who is avigyanvan. So now we have learned about the process avigyanvan, the person who is avigyanvan, he will similarly all the way down the chain not be able to control the things that are below subservient. Right? So what are these subservient things? First is the Vigyan or the Buddhi is controlling the mind. So mind will be without any control. Then the mind is controlling the sense organs. Sense organs will similarly be uh, also uncontrolled. And the sense organs are uncontrolled, then what will happen? Body will suffer. Right? Our body will not be healthy. If we eat all kinds of wrong kinds of food, or if we overeat, then the body is not going to be able to bear the strain. Right? My taste is taking control of me, my tongue is taking control of me, then my body will not be able to stay healthy. So the path or the journey is going to be problematic. So once the journey is problematic, what will happen? Amanaskaha. So see, this person is like, it is said he's without a mind. Amanaskaha. So why without a mind? Everyone has a mind. So like his mind is not under his control. That is equivalent to not having a mind. Amanaskaha. And sada ashachvihi. So his thoughts will always be impure. So where does he have the space for entering into a spiritual pursuit, right? His Vigyan itself is flawed. His knowledge of Shastra itself is flawed. So every time something comes up, Every time some kind of decision is needed to be taken in life, because of his wrong understanding of Shastra, he will end up doing the wrong things, right? So, ashuchihi. So, what will happen? Na sa tat padam apnoti. He will not reach that highest goal, tat padam, the goal of moksha or the release from birth. So he will not be able to move into the right path, because why? He has taken the wrong route. His sense organs are unruly. Dushta. So Dushta are moving all in the wrong direction. So what will happen? It will take a long, long time, right? So it is said that moksha, it takes so many births. But for some special people, it can happen instantly. That does not mean that it happened in this birth. He might be carrying some punyam from previous birth. But for some people, it is faster. Why it is faster? Because the direction is right. So if someone takes all kinds of wrong turns, he might end up reaching much, much later than he had originally planned, right? So we were going on a long drive, and on the way we ended up going on a wrong road. And then that wrong road turned to be so bad that at the end of it, we didn't even find space to even turn around the car. It took us such a long time, a whole trip was wasted. So in this way, unless the directions are proper, then the journey is going to take us where sansaram cha adhigacchati. So that person will be embroiled in samsara only. He will be controlled by his sansaric vasanas. He will not be able to move in a more healthy manner away from all of these sense objects which are controlling him, right? So the sense objects are now controlling him. He is not controlling them. So for that person, he will come back to the samsara again and again till the time he has developed the Vigyan. Right? So till that time, he has a chance to learn that knowledge properly. So first of all, for any kind of knowledge, the information should be proper. Once the information is proper, then we can direct ourselves to the right path. And once the right path is chosen, then we can reach our destination. So the previous two verses were about the path. This is about the destiny. Tat padam apnoti. So what is that tat padam? We saw earlier also is that a person who is of Shreyas and Preyas, these are the two paths. The one who chooses prayers or the path of doing what is priya to him, only what he likes to do or what he enjoys doing, then he will go back to samsara only. He will keep on getting caught in samsara. But the one who chooses prayers, the one that is beneficial to him, he will go on any of the two positive paths. One of that is Mm, the positive. There is some problem with the Zoom, so it might end in 10 minutes and I'll have to reconnect. Maybe my have to get so if I do get disconnected, please join back again. Okay. So yes. So now this when we are the Vigyanvan person is filled with the purity, the avigyanvan is not pure. So he will keep coming back to samsara, having chosen the one who chooses the path of prayas and the one who chooses the path of shreyas. Yastu vigyanvan bhavati. So samanaskaha, he is with the mind. So again, same logic. The mind is within his control. He is in control, or his intellect is in control of his mind. So he will always be pure, sada shuchihi. So what happens to the person who is pure? He is able to absorb knowledge, right? Remember, as students, when we were in school or class, and the teacher is teaching us, and then suddenly a chalk would bang onto our head. Why? Because we were looking out of the window, watching the birds. So when this happens, the teacher is saying, pay attention in the class. Otherwise, you will miss. Or suddenly the teacher will ask something and we are stuttering to answer something, right? So unless we pay attention, unless our focus is right, then that focus will take us to the knowledge in a faster way. So we have to train our mind to focus on the knowledge whenever it is being imparted. So yastu vigyanvan bhavati samanaska. His mind is in the right direction, right? So the mind will not be wandering here and there. So if the mind is within limits, then it will be focused on to the job at hand, the path at hand, or the destination. Satu tat padam apnoti. He will look for that padam, that position in life where he yasmad bhuyo na jayate, from where he will not be born again. So clear indication that Shruti ma is here is talking about moksha, by about liberation, so that he will not be born again. So not being born again is learning about my true nature, learning that I am Atma, behaving in that same way. So same thing, once the knowledge is there, my intellect is clear, I have no garbage of clutter and wrong vibrations in my mind born out of, evil thoughts towards others. So a lot of people say that once I've learned the knowledge, what will happen if I indulge in some wrong things or whatever? So I still have the knowledge with me. No, the knowledge will not be useful unless the knowledge is there, the pure mind, you will not be able to utilize the knowledge, or you will not be able to run according to the knowledge. So until and unless you absorb the knowledge and you keep that purity with you, samanaska sadashuchihi, that till then you will not be able to reach that highest position. Satu tatpadam apnoti, the person with vigyanvan, whose intellect is focused, he will reach the high position. So yasmat bhuyah na jayate. From there, he will not be born again. So we have to be in control of our faculties there. So now, what about this? What will he reach? Vigyan sarathihi yah tu. So manah pragraha van narah so advanah param apnoti tat vishnu paramam padam. So this Vigyan Sarthi, this Sarthi, or the intellect which is with Vigyanam, and his mind is Manaha Pragraha. The mind is like the reins. So his mind will be in control. The reins will be controlling the horses. That Purusha, Naraha, that person. So Advanaha. So he will reach that goal of total peace, advanaha, the highest goal, the goal of moksha. So advanaha param apnoti. He will cross this samsara and reach that goal. Tad Vishnoho paramam padam. So this is not that our Vishnu Bhagwan in the form, with form. It is the formlessness. Vishnu means all pervading. Vishnu, from which dhatu, it means something that is all pervading, right? So he will reach that state where he will see himself as Atma. The Atma is of the nature of consciousness, a consciousness which is all pervading. So this decision that is made in his mind, that I am of that nature, Tattvamasi. So when that Tattva is known to him as his own nature only, then this person will reach the highest goal. He will not be deviating from the path. So now he will be looking at the next. So this is describing in sequence how uh, each part of our internal organs control what. So up to the highest also. So we'll again take these two together. Indriyebhya parayartha arthebhyascham param manah manasastu para buddhihi buddhiratma mahan parah. Indriyebhya parayartha arthebhyascha param manah manasastu para buddhihi buddhiratma mahan parah. Mahatah param avyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushat param purushanna param kinchit sakashta sa paragatihi. So indriyebhya paraha hi artha. So Indriya is what? The sense organs, right? Sense organs. So indriyebhyah paraha artha. The sense objects are more subtle or more mm, uh, in control of the sense organs. And then arthebhyah cha param manah. Arthebhyah cha param manah. I'll just bring it in the individual ones. So indriyebhya para artha, then arthebhyascha param manah. So the mind is more subtle or more in control of or more higher, you can say param is higher. The mind is higher than the sense organs. Then manah to para buddhihi. The buddhi or the intellect is higher than the manaha. And then buddhehe atma mahan paraha. So the buddhi is again ruled by mahan atma. So here it is not the just the atma or the pure soul that we are talking about. Here, the atma, mahan atma is the soul that is in control of the universal mind. So that we call mahat. So why are we saying that it is mahat? The clue we get from the next mantra. So mahat paramavyaktam. So mahat. So in between that Mahanatma is there, then here Mahat is coming, right? So obviously that Mahat is to be used there also, right? So beyond this Manaha is we saw beyond the Buddhi or controlling the Buddhi or more, higher than the Buddhi is this Mahanatma, which is the Hiranyagarbha or the Mahataha. So we will discuss this more. So higher than this Mahata is what? Mahata Param Avyaktam. Avyakt, that Prakriti, pure nature, that formless nature. And then Avyaktat Purusha Paraha. From that Avyaktam, the Purusha is even higher. And then Purushat Na Param Kinchit. There is nothing higher than Purusha. It's not, otherwise we'll keep going into what we call the regress ad infinitum. It's a logical fallacy where you keep on going something more subtler. But the subtlest is what? Where we reach the level where something is without form. So if there is something without form, you cannot get anything more subtle than that. So that is the highest reality. That is the Sat Chit Anand Swarup. That is the Sat, you can say, or the the Purush that we saw in the Param Purusha that we saw in the Purush Sutta also. Right? Tomorrow also we'll see that. So Purushat na param kinchit. Nothing. So Hariom, welcome back. Sorry for the interruption. So let's continue with this. So now we are looking at the sense organs and whatever is higher than them. So first of all, what do we do? What we understand from here is the indriyas, the sense organs is mentioned here as the indriya are subtler than something else, which is not mentioned here, but subtler than the sense organs or the indriyas is subtler than them is the sense objects. So this will seem a bit, the logic will not seem correct to you, but this is something that Shruti has said. So obviously there cannot be an error, and we need someone who is well versed, and we have Shankaracharya Bhagwan's guidance. So he explains this beautifully. And of course, other acharyas have also similarly explained this, right? So what is the thing? You will say naturally that the sense objects are gross, right? So first of all, we understand the concept. What is the concept? The main thing about the concept is that whatever is more subtler will be more all-pervading, right? And if it is more all-pervading, that means it will control that whatever is less subtle, whatever is gross, right? So the gross will be controlled by the subtle, right? And what about the second part? The gross will be controlled by the subtle, and then whatever is more subtle will be more all-pervading, and also it will be the cause. It will be the cause of whatever is less gross, right? So just like in the five elements, the Prithvi Tattva is the effect, and what is the cause of that? Jal. Then Jala is the and its cause will be uh, Agni. Then Agni is the effect, its cause will be Vayu, and so on, till Akash. So ultimately, what is happening? They are getting subtler, right? So Prithvi is gross, then you have Jal. Jal is subtler, right? It can pervade anything that is solid, it can be easily contained within something that is liquid, and so on. Similarly, when you go to energy, energy will pervade something, it pervade the liquid even more. Uh, and then Vayu, gaseous state, it will pervade even the energy part. And then finally, Akash, everything is within Akash. And then finally, higher. So we will look at this and in this manner also, and the one that we are reading in Shruti also. So here, the process that we are following is going from gross to subtle. So this is also done in a lot of other Upanishads in the manner of going from the koshas, the panch koshas. It is called panch kosha vivek. So what are the panch koshas? They are the five layers of our personality. We saw this earlier also. So what are these five layers? First is the annamaya kosh. So that is gross, the food sheath or the physical body. And then there is the Pranamaya Kosh, the life force, the inner life force. That is the prana with the five karmendriyas. That is subtler than the body because it controls the body, it moves the body. So, and then we go into the Manomaya Kosh, the mind with the five Gyanendriyas. Man plus Pacho Gyanendriya. So mind controls the prana also. Then we go more subtler. Then the Vijnanamaya Kosh. So Vijnanamaya Kosh is what? The Buddhi with the five Gyanendriyas. Five Gyanendriyas are common because without Gyanendriya, input cannot be received either by the mind or the Buddhi. So that is even more subtler. And then the Anandamaya Kosh, the kosha where the vasanas reside, the deepest one or the current sharir. So that is the current sharir aspect. So there is what? There is there we have total dissolution. So in there we have what we call the joy of sleep, the joy of absorption, where I do not know about my infinite nature, but the divisions have disappeared. The divisions that make due to my ajnana make me feel different, but they are not gone. They are in the dormant state. The vasanas are still there. It is just that they have not been expressed, right? So in this way, we are going from gross to subtle. So now when we come to Indriya, so for understanding, we can easily see that the gross body has not been mentioned here. So gross body is the grossest. The Indriya or the sense organs are Shakti. We cannot see them. So they are subtler. And of course, you know that the sense organs will control the gross body. So that means the Gyanendriya are more, you can say, powerful. Huh. Then what is the next one? After that is the Artha. So Artha is the sense objects. So naturally, the sense objects we understand as the objects that are outside us. So they appear gross, right? They appear gross to us. So at first glance, it appears that how can the intellect, how can the sense organs or the indriyas be subservient or be controlled by them? So first of all, we have to look at first the subtlety. So first of all, the sense organs are what? They are an assemblage of sense objects. So that makes the organs, effects of the objects. They are effects of the objects. Unless the sense object is there, the sense organ has no use. So that means they are lower in the hierarchy, right? The sense organs. The objects are higher or subtler in this manner. And then again in the sense of vastness. Whatever is more vaster will control whatever is less vast. So the sense objects are clearly far greater in number and size than the sense organs. So therefore, the sensory range, like the sense organs can only see or visualize a certain range, right? Like the eyes can see something within a certain visual range. But there are other ranges. There is the ultraviolet range, which our eyes cannot perceive. There is the infrared range, which is again below the range of our eyes. So there are the sense objects are more vaster. So it can be applied to all others, even for the ears also. No, for the ears, it is different because for ears there are certain frequencies that the ears can hear. But all frequencies it cannot be. They cannot be received by the ear. So the frequencies that are of the higher range, they can be heard by certain animals like dogs. They can hear those higher frequencies. So in this way, we have to see that the sense organs and the sense objects, they have a range that range is different, right? So then the next third part that is said by Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam, immanence. The the stimuli from the objects, they will pervade the senses. Without these stimuli from the objects, the sense organs would have no work to do. That means the utility of the sense organs is dependent on the sense objects, right? So in this way, the sense organs are said to be subtler. Now, there is another simpler way of understanding why the sense organs are more in control or more subtler than the sense objects. Why? Because whatever be the whatever be the sense objects, sorry, how do we receive them? We receive them in our mind. We receive them in our mind, and they stay within the mind, and from there they affect us, right? So there they are in that subtle plane only. So there, what is happening? The sense organs are being controlled by these sense objects. The sense objects will control our sense organs, because without them, unless the sense object is there, the sense organs have nothing to do. So the sense objects, the thas, so or the vishaya will control the sense organs. From here on, it is easier. So next up is what? The uh, After that is the manasaha, right? Manasaha. So I think there was a video shared in the group. So there also it was said this very same part was discussed, that Indriya, Artha, Manaha. Of course, there this Mahat was replaced by this great soul is said here. So there the word Atma was used, but we have to understand this Atma also in that aspect. It is not wrong also in a way. Of course, the Paramatma is not being talked about there. So let us go sequentially first. So after Artha is Manas. So mind is made up of all the subtle part of all the five elements. So right. So what do we know about how these are formed? The five elements, they are in the gross form, they are present as the sense objects, right? But in the subtle form, they are as the tanmatras, panch tattvas. So they are very subtle and not be perceived. So they are all acted upon by the three gunas, three guna. So every guna will split these five tanmatras or panch mahabhut into three, right? So what are the three? The three gunas are sattva, rajas, tamas, right? Sattva, rajas, tamas. So sattva will split up this, let us say, Prithvi Tattva into three parts. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sorry. The three gunas will split up Prithvi Tattva into three parts. Sattva, the sattvic aspect, the rasic aspect, and the tamasic aspect. From the tamasic aspect, the sense objects are born outside. From the rajasic aspect, the karmendriyas are born. And then from the sattvic aspect, the jnanendriyas are born. So now these jnanendriyas are from the sattvic aspect. From the combined five elements, from the sattvic aspect of all these five combined elements, the mind is born. So that means what? Mind is more in control. Another way we can look at it, how? The mind is receiving the input from all of the sense objects, right? So that is why mind is controlling the sense organs. Mind is receiving input from all the indriyas. So once the indriyas give this direction to the mind, give the inputs to the mind, then only it gives a decision on what to do or which sense or object is to be grasped, right? A lot of times it happens when the mind is not available, we do not grasp. Sometimes, someone is just passed by you, someone will even say hello to you, and you will not remember later on. That person will say, I met you yesterday, and today only, and today you're saying you don't remember. So it happens, because why? Because my mind is elsewhere. So my mind is elsewhere. I have seen something with my indriya, with my eyes, and yet I do not remember. Or my mind is somewhere and someone is giving a talk and my mind is at with someone at my home or with some other thing that I have to do, but talk will go over my head. Why? Because my mind is not in that place. So even though the sense of the organ is available, indriya is available, if the mind is not available, they will not be able to give that input to the mind. The mind will not be receiving any input. So the mind chooses the inputs, it controls the input. Without it, the inputs will not be received. Right? So in this way, the mind is more subtler or the mind is more in control of the sense of or organs. So we are slowly moving towards that highest reality, right? So that is why we have to understand which is more gross and which is my nature so that I can learn to control in them in the right sequence. And then what was the next one? After Manasa, Buddhi. Obviously, Buddhi is more in control because the mind is a scattering of thoughts, right? So, mind is not just the thoughts, of course. You can say the sense or objects are thoughts. The sense objects come to into our mind as thoughts. That is why we said earlier also that the sense objects control the sense organs, right? Because they come as thoughts. And the mind is the organ or the material where these thoughts are allowed to move about, right? So when all these thoughts are moving about, then who directs them or controls them? It is the buddhi. Right? So buddhi is more subtler or more in control or more, we can say, pratyak, more interior to us, more interior to the atma or closer to the atma, right? Because buddhi does what? There is actually what we call the antakarana, inner instrument. The inner instrument is man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. It is the same inner instrument. It is not different instruments, but according to function, it takes up different names. According to function, this inner instrument takes up different names. So, what are the functions? Man, the mind, the buddhi, the intellect, the chit, the memory faculty, which stores all our inputs, and then the ahankar, the karta, right? So buddhi, in a way, it also functions as the karta. Buddhi functions as the doer. And the instrument, when it says I am the doer, then that is the ahamkara. So there are two things. There is the kartri or the doer, and there is the instrument, which is the mind. Yeah. So these two are functioning together. Out of that, the doer will always control the instrument. The mind becomes the instrument in that case, right? Even though they stem from the same origin. So therefore, the buddhi is more in control of the manasaha. And then Mahan Atma is said there, right? So Mahan Atma, we saw in the next verse also. What is the word used there? Mahat, right? So Mahat represents what? The total intellect. The total intellect. So we can, another technical name for that is Hiranyagarbha, right? The womb from which everything is born. It contains the total blueprint of the universe. It contains the roadmap of manifesting the whole universe. That is the Mahat. So from this prakriti or nature, the whole universe is going to be manifest. In the intermediate stage, it is the Mahat Buddhi or the Mahat which is going to manifest. So now we are moving from the individual to the total, right? So the total is obviously more expansive or more vaster or more subtle than the individual parts, right? So this individual Buddhi is controlled by the Mahat Buddhi, right? The Mahat Buddhi is controlling this individual Buddhi. So whenever we are going to uh, control this buddhi, we have to connect ourselves to that higher buddhi, Hiranyagarbha. Once we do that, it will help us achieve our sadhanas in a much more efficient way, right? So that is why we have to be always very aware of what we are doing. Like, let us say we have a servant, right? So that servant is working for us. He does whatever we want him to do. But sometimes maybe some clash is going to come about. Then what will happen? He will not do his work properly. So it will be like not having a servant. In fact, he will in fact be start he will start causing you losses, right? So that way our manaha should be in control of our buddhi. Our mind should be in control of our mind should be controlled by our buddhi. Otherwise, it will be like that unruly servant, right? Unruly servant. So, so unless the mind is controlled by the buddhi, then it will be unruly. So similarly, our buddhi, if we are on the spiritual path, it should be surrendered to that higher buddhi, Mahad buddhi, Hiranyagarbha. Because what does that Hiranyagarbha have the additional advantage? It is functioning through all buddhis. So it has the knowledge of all the things that are going on in the world. So once we connect there, a huge avenue of knowledge opens up. Right. Once we surrender to that highest intellect, then sorry, any shastra that we study will open up its message to us, will show us, because that all the knowledge is there. So knowledge of all the lokas, all the thing that is happening there, or all the ways in which how we can manifest whatever we need to do or whatever we desire, that knowledge will become available to us. So we become more creative. You would have heard about artists or some other people. They have some inner inspiration. So that inner inspiration is what? They are connected internally. So they will produce something unique. A singer will produce a masterpiece of music, and he will say, I don't know how it came about. You will see some of them, they'll be singing with their eyes closed because they are internally connected there. And that is when the best human effort comes out, right? So in this way, this Mahataha represents the Hiranyagarbha. And then finally, above that is what? In the manifest plane, Prakriti. That is the total formless Maya, or the universal material part, right? So in the initial part, this Prakriti is what? It is totally invisible. It is the source from which everything will be born after the proper vibration has been imparted to it. So Prakriti is more subtler. It is the source from which Mahat will come out. So Prakriti will control. So we are going into the subtler part. Now the subtlest is what? Finally, Purushaha. So what did we read about that Purushaha there? So Purushat na param kinchit. There is nothing more higher or subtler than that Purusha. So Param Purusha is what? The infinite consciousness, or the infinite Satchit Anand Swarup, or Brahman. It has both aspects. It has the manifest aspect and the unmanifest aspect. Like we saw in Purusukta, three of its parts are lying in the unmanifest realm, and one part in the manifest realm. So Purushat na param kinchit. Nothing is higher than that, right? It is the ultimate reality. Why? Because it is formless. It has no form. Even Prakriti has a form. Prakriti has what form? The form that will be manifesting one universe. So it will pervade one universe, right? One Prakriti. But what about this Purusha? It is able to manifest multiple Prakritis and multiple universes. So Purushat na param kinchit. So once anyone reaches that Purusha, sa kashta sa paragati. That is the highest. That is the highest reality. That is the highest place that you can reach. So that is why Purushaha is the final place where we have to reach. Sa kashta, that is the end. Kashta, the end. And the paragati, that is the highest goal. So once we move on this path of understanding our nature, understanding the realities, how they control us, and moving to that point where we reach the highest reality, which is beyond any control, through which it manifests everything. So even without doing anything, that Purushaha becomes the source. As Sat, it is the material source for everything, and as Chit, it is the consciousness that makes everything move. Without it, nothing can, act in this universe. So that is the Paragati. So we'll see a bit more of this in the next class. Right now, we'll wind up for today. Time is up. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.